Hello and welcome. I'm Rosy Gigure and this is Go Ahead Tell Me or Dale Cuéntame in Spanish. We have conversations with people who are using their talent, provoking positive change around them. They are change makers from this wonderful multicultural world. And today we're talking with Robbie Bryan. And his story is really remarkable. I hope you enjoy it and get inspired. We are here with Robbie Bryan. He's a director, writer, and producer. And I'm always so excited and happy for when we have our guests. As you know, one is in Spanish, one is in English. Today, you're going to listen to my accent. But we are so happy to have Robbie here. He's, again, a filmmaker who is doing so much as a change maker, positive change maker in the world. So I'm so happy and honored to have you, Robbie. Thank you for being with us.
Rosie, thank you so much for having me on your show today. I'm so honored to be here and share my story with your audience.
And you have such a great story, and that's I'm gonna try for you to talk more. Please, Robbie, tell us where you were born, was your childhood, and how did you choose what you're doing now?
Well, I was born in Queens, New York. Actually, Manhattan was the hospital I was born in, but I grew up in Queens until I was about 9 years old. And then my family moved to New Jersey, down by the Jersey Shore, where I spent most of my teen years and early 20s until I went to school. And growing up, it was kind of a middle class, working to middle class family. Nobody really in my family had ever gone to college before, and I went to school, and I had the typical parents that dreamed of me being a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, and sort of break the chain of more of a working class environment. And I went to Rider College, which is now Rider University, and I was going there for accounting and marketing. But my two passions when I was growing up were playing baseball, which I did. Most of growing up, and acting. I did from when I was a little kid, all the way through high school plays and college plays, never thinking that it was going to be a vocation, just because it was a love and a passion, just like playing baseball was. And then my senior year in college, I was doing the play Godspell, and we were doing a pre-show for a few days before we opened at a senior citizens home, and we did a pre-show for them and invited them to our school. And a woman came up to me after the show and said that her husband had passed away 6 months prior, and I made her laugh for the first time since her husband passed away. And I just thought, oh my God, what an amazing thing to be able to do and give to people, whether it's making them laugh or making them cry or making them feel. Wouldn't this be an amazing thing to do for the rest of my life? And I came home that night, and I told my parents that I wanted to be an actor, go to New York City and be an actor. And of course, pots and pans came flying, and people they weren't very happy about that. Um, but um, but I ended up finishing my education, and the day I graduated, I handed my father my diploma, and I said, "This is for you. Now I have to do what's right for me." And I went to New York and started acting, and I did that in New York, started taking classes, and eventually booked a few big films, and a few TV shows. And then, the life of an actor, the life in the arts in general is difficult, but the life of an actor it is and was at that time a very lack of control type of thing, where you had to have an agent or manager just to get into an audition, and then you had to get the casting director to like you, and then if you got to get past the casting director, you needed the producers to want to hire you, and the director. And it just seemed very daunting at the time. And I was seeing people like Spike Lee and Kevin Smith and Ed Burns and people like that who were making their own films. And I thought, I'd love to be able to do that. And back when I was, thinking about this, it was before all the digital age. So mostly films were made on 16 millimeter or mostly 35 millimeter, which was expensive. Film to shoot and process is expensive. So I thought, well, these people must know somebody. They must know, they must have ins, and I don't have any ins. And then a close friend of mine, a good friend of his, made his own film for about $150,000. And I was like, well, if Pat can do it, then I can do it. And so I started a company with my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. And we formed Good to Be Seen Films. And in 1998, made our first feature film called The Stand In, which was based on my experiences being Michael J. Fox's stand in about 5 or 6 of his movies. And it was about a guy trying to, believe in his dream of becoming an actor. And Kelly Ripa was in it, and Judith Ivey, and Lou Myers from A Different World, and David Ogden Stiers from MASH. And that was it. And from then on, just started writing and producing movies, and then eventually my first directing film was in 2008, the movie called I Murders, which was a kind of a horror whodunit kind of film with a huge cast for a lower budget movie. Frank Grillo and Billy D. Williams and Gabrielle Anwar and Judith Ivey. I'm not Judith Ivey. I'm sorry, Margaret Colin and Tony Todd. And I've been making films ever since.
Yeah, oh my God. And you have what it takes, really. Please tell me, why did you choose that name with your partners? Good to Be Seen Films for the company?
So that Rossi is it's based on my mom who passed away about 20 years ago, 25 years ago. God, it's been so long. But she had multiple sclerosis and was in a nursing home at a very early age. And I would visit her at least 3 times a week for about 4 years before she passed. And when I would go to see her, I would say, "Hey, mom, it's good to see you." And she would say, "Good to be seen." So that was the reason that we
Mm,
call our company Good to Be Seen Films. It's
mm,
Good to Be Seen is actually on her tombstone. And we actually have a brick. Where I have season tickets for the Mets, and we actually have a brick in front of the entranceway that says "Good to Be Seen Films" and has my name and my wife and my sister and 2 friends who share the tickets with us. So that's the origin of that.
oh my God. And again, it's because of your experience and your spirit that you have done all of this. And wow, you always follow your heart, your intuition. Now, obviously, I wanna go to the part we have so much to talk about in your films, but to the part that you 6 years ago, I believe you had cancer. And by the way, I found you with that name in your social media and your in Clubhouse and everything. It was cancer. And please tell me how you did that. That's a really great experience to share for an inspiration.
So that thank you so much. That icon, that picture that I use actually was a pizza. And when I had my 5 year last year, I had my 5 year anniversary of my clean PET scan, and that's a very significant thing in the cancer community because the odds of reoccurring of it coming back after 5 years drops dramatically. So the 5 year anniversary was very big, and obviously this happened during COVID, and last year when we all were really social distancing from each other. And so my friends and my family, excuse me, did a drive by, like the kids are doing we're doing for graduation, where they did a drive by with signs, and
Uh-huh.
they came to my house, and my sister's house, and and that was a big pepperoni pizza with with the fuck cancer on it.
Uh,
So that was that. But yeah, 6 years ago, it was December of 2014, and I was 3 weeks away from directing a movie called The Eyes, which was a psychological thriller that I did. And I think what the picture I sent of to you is of with Anna Isabel, who is
uh-huh.
become a wonderful friend, but she's in West Side Story with that Steven Spielberg directed. But we were getting set to shoot that movie, and we were 3 weeks away, and I had been having a an earache and a sore throat for a while, and everyone kept chalking it up to it being allergies. That was how allergies were manifesting that year. So I kept going to ENT people, and they kept saying it's allergies, it's allergies. And then one ENT person said, "Well, let's do a CAT scan of your throat just in case." And they found cancer on my. They looked at it and said, we're not oncologists, but I've seen this a million times. You have cancer. And so it turned out to be stage 4 cancer of my tongue and my lymph nodes. And I had to go right away into um, chemo and radiation treatment for 7 weeks. Obviously, we didn't shoot the movie. And it was a really, really difficult time. And I actually almost passed away 6 weeks into treatment, and my body. I'm not a big guy. I was like 153 pounds when I got cancer, and within 6 weeks of treatment, I was down to 117 pounds, and it looked very bleak. But I had a lot of faith, and I truly, and a lot of people, a lot of love and support behind me, and I felt like I had much more to do on this earth for good, and also in the industry, but also to make this a better world a little bit for me being in it. That's sort of my life's motto, and I got through treatment, and then I had to wait 3 weeks to get a PET scan to see if the cancer had gone. 3 months actually, because it was in my because the treatment was in my throat and tongue. They had to wait for the sores to go down because they couldn't distinguish between sores or tumor. So I waited 3 weeks for my final PET scan, and I said to everybody who would listen, if I was okay, I wanted to shoot the movie The Eyes as quickly as possible, and thank God it came back that the cancer was gone. And everybody was like, "You're too weak. Don't do it. Don't, why don't you rest?" And I said, "No, this is an affirmation of life. I need to live. I need to, I got to beat this cancer, and I need to continue to live." So I shot the movie in August of that year, and it ended up playing on Showtime for 2 years. So and I got to
Yeah.
continue my life.
Let me tell me a little bit about the Ice movie, the one that was in Showtime.
So that movie was I got it from a writer on Inktip, which is a website where writers I write a lot of our stuff, but sometimes when I just want to be inspired and I don't want to develop a script as long as I do when I write it, we go on Inktip. But that movie was a psychological thriller about 6 people who wake up in this abandoned warehouse. They're tied to chairs. They have no idea how they got there, and a voice comes on a microphone and says, "We know that all of you have killed somebody in your life, and tonight 5 of you are going to die. One of you gets to live, and you have 2 hours to decide who deserves to be the one that walks out." So
Oh.
um, that movie starred Nick Turturro from Blue Bloods, and Vinny Pastore from The Sopranos, and Anna Isabel was in it, and Megan West, who's on 911, and Danny Flaherty, who was on gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the show.
Great actors, actually.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And for me, and I wanted to go to the movie that you said, no, this is because that's your passion. That's what you do. You are a filmmaker. And you say, I'm gonna do this. And obviously I call him Papa Dios is God, the universe, the divinity. He said, yes, go and do your thing because you are here to do this. And you did it, and you have had your answers throughout. It's been 6 years then since that happened, and every year you go to your checkups. What would be the advice for someone who just got the news or who is battling cancer?
Well, obviously, when you first get the news, it's a complete shock, especially if you're, younger, and you're not expecting that news like I did. I literally, when I went to the doctor the day, I thought I was going to get some antibiotics or maybe, I had something very small, and then all of a sudden he says you have cancer. So my advice is that, take a moment to breathe, understand what you're about to go through, and then just focus on all the good that you have in your life. Focus on your goals, focus on the love, focus on my family loves to go on vacations together, my wife's family and I. And so there were so many more places in the world I wanted to see. Still, we went literally right after I finished treatment. We went to Puerto Rico and just laid on the beach and just had the most amazing time. And it was the first time I had been there. So just focus on why you want to live, and don't focus on what you're about to go through. I just kind of grabbed it head on, and I took like one day to process, and then I just said, okay, to my doctors, what do I have to do to beat this? And the other thing is to reach out to people like me, for instance, which is why another reason why I use that moniker on Clubhouse is so if there's anybody or their family or themselves who are going through it, or a family member is, and they want to see somebody who's not only gotten through it but is continuing to follow their dreams and passions. I want to be that person to sort of, I, I can't cure people, but I want to give them hope.
And you can give such a great hope and example again, and mostly, and please tell us, we know how we have lived this past year, we these generations that we had to live a pandemic, and that's really a different time in our lives. So there have been deaths and sad things, and actually in your family you were telling me that also you had other sad happenings. Tell me about that.
Yeah, the last 4 months have been really cruel, actually cruel to our family. My mother-in-law, who Anna, who is the sweetest lady in the whole world, literally went from we were yelling at her. She lived in Massachusetts, for shoveling her driveway, felt fine, and in 2 weeks she said, "Oh, my legs aren't feeling well." We took her to the. She went to the emergency. We couldn't go in, but because of COVID, but went to the emergency room, was diagnosed with cancer, and within 2 weeks was gone, literally.
Mhm.
And then, not a few weeks later, my father went into the hospital, which he would have to do for 2 straight months, and he passed away uh, a few weeks ago. And in between that, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer and is going through treatment right now. Thank God they caught hers early. So the outcome will have, she has a lot she's going to be going through the next few weeks, but her outlook is very positive. But all of this happened on top of COVID, on top of everything else. And it's been devastating. Don't get me wrong. It's overwhelming what has happened, but at the same point, it's another affirmation of life to sort of say we're only on this earth for a certain amount of time. And sickness aside, we could get hit by a bus on any given day. So live your life. Don't wait till tomorrow. I have the saying, tomorrow becomes never. So when you say, I'll do this tomorrow, I'll do this tomorrow, it never happens. So do it today,
Yes.
whether it's fine, whatever.
Um, um, that's what I think. That you again, that I wanted to bring up all of that because it's not that you fought cancer and you won, that battle, but you have lost family members that are, that they lost their battle, but still, and your wife is fighting, and obviously she's gonna be fine. And your advices, are great, and about the faith, about the love, about the motivation that we all should look for. Is something that I think always we always have to have a motivation, like short-term goal, medium and long-term goals. What do we want to do, right? And Papa Dios, God has our time, but we always can wake up and say, okay, I'm gonna live my life as best as I can, and have faith. So what's happening, again, with your wife, for example? I imagine she has that example from you. What can you tell me?
Yes, no, I think it 100%, um, it 100% is something that she can follow, my example. And again, mine was stage 4, so my treatment was a little bit more intense than hers, but it doesn't make it any less scary. And it's in her breast. And women obviously, thank goodness she didn't have to get a mastectomy, but a lot of times that's part of it. And but she does have that sort of, the same way she was there for me, I'm there for her. And we hold each other, and we're going to get through it together as a team and as a family, and with love, and God willing. And then we are already planning what we're doing the second half of the year in terms of traveling and some film festivals that we're going to, with a short that we made, and just planning how the next part of living life is going to be.
Exactly. And I imagine your wife, obviously, she's a great woman, and having you as an example, and also she has to keep in mind that we are really the stronger. So she's obviously fine. I'm glad that you're planning all of that. And tell me about another film that you have. I think it's based on a best-selling book that includes Oprah.
So that actually movie came to me. The writer of a best-selling book, Connie, came to me through LinkedIn and asked me originally to direct her book. It's based on a book called God Gave Us Wings, and it's about 10 inspirational women of all sort of backgrounds and races, and just really incredible women. And I agree with you, the women are always the toughest. Women are always the tougher sex, but it's based on these 10 incredible women, including the author and including Oprah Winfrey, who's in the book. And she came to me first to direct it, and then they were struggling with some of the writing, and they had to do a synopsis to this financer, and this financier actually passed on it based on the synopsis. So Connie had asked me, "Would you please write? Can you write me a synopsis, and I'll pay you for it?" And I said, "Don't worry about it. I'm in, if I'm in, and I can write a synopsis for you." And I wrote the synopsis, and everybody loved it. And so she came back and said, "Would you mind doing a rewrite of the script as well?" So I'm going to be writing it, and hopefully we'll be directing as well. So that's one project that is definitely, it's very inspirational, and I'm honored to be asked to do it. And I also have this other film, Black Hat, which is about a bullied teen manga artist. It's set in the world of anime, and it's a narrative film with 15 minutes of actual anime interspersed. That's something I wrote, and it has a Facebook page with 1.8 million followers, which is a testament to how anime fans are so underutilized and valued. And it's a incredible art form. So that's something I'm doing as well. And I'm also going to be directing a sequel to a movie um, uh, called Immortal that's out in all digital platforms right now, and it's an anthology, 4 stories about about an immortal character, and my character that I'm going to direct my story is going to involve. I think your audience would be very excited. A Latin Latina woman who based on her experience leaving Mexico and coming here and then not being able to go home because of immigration status, but it's going to have an immortal theme to her character. So a lot happening in the next, 8 to 12 months.
Wow, and I thank you for that. I was actually putting a comment in LinkedIn because I think we are stronger together, actually helping each other. And I believe so much in multiculturalism. This has to do with some degree that I study in psychology, and I thank you again for all the work that you're doing, and that's why I think you are really a great guest in our podcast. For me, doing this and showing how people can do and use their talent to make or provoke positive change, and mostly doing what they are happy to do. What would be like a couple of advices, if you will, of telling people about this, about using their talents? It could be being an entrepreneur, but what would be the advice on that?
I think a lot of times people chase money. How am I going to make money? And I think you need to when you find your passion and you study and you're good at what you do, become good at what you do, money will find you. When you worry too much about the money aspect of things, I mean, we all have to pay our bills. Don't get me wrong. But I think passion is sells more than anything when you're passionate about something. And specifically, if you're going to pursue a career in the arts, you have to be able to take no. You have to be able to hear no, because even the most successful people in this business are going to hear no 9 out of 10 times. And this sort of translates to my story, with my health and cancer and all that stuff, is that you're going to get knocked down. The winners in life, whether it's career, whether it's beating illness, are those who are able to get up. And it's not always easy. And I don't mean to be glib in any way about it, but you have two options in life, and that's either lay down or get up. It's a lot better when you get up. So
Yeah.
that's really important, I think.
And thank you for reminding me that, because maybe sometimes we don't realize that we are quitting, or that we are saying with an illness or with a job or something else, is like, okay, no, well, this is it, and this is what it has to be. But actually, one step at a time, I think is. And thank you, because you, Robbie, are really a great example of on that. Then also, you're inspiring others. Oh, I'm sorry, you were saying?
No, I was just thanking you for saying that. It was very kind of you.
No, you're inspiring, and I know that that's one of your goals: inspire others, that are fighting battles, any type of battle. But imagine, for me, you are actually the person who walked the talk, and you just also said something important: is that when people look for money, that's really, they can get a lot of money, and that money can go the next day also. um Again, thank you so much for all of these. Please tell me about, you were telling me about your projects, but tell me what people can go. And please, I invite all of you to go to IMDb and look at Robbie Bryan, Robbie Bryan, and you can look all of his career in there. But please tell me, what two things: what has been the most happiest time in your life, and I'm not gonna ask for the saddest, but and what makes you move on in life?
Um, well, the happiest, actually, the happiest place, is New Orleans, which is my favorite place in the whole world. And it's a magical place of culture and resiliency that I love very much. The happiest times I've probably spent have been when I was with my family and we went to one of the first trips we ever took, which was to Europe, was I made a short film about 10 years ago, the only short film until recently, and it got into this big festival in Germany. And so we planned a family vacation around it. And we went to Germany and Amsterdam and Copenhagen and Sweden, and that continued for the last 10 years before, this year, culminating in Iceland 2 years ago before pandemic. And those are the happiest times of my life because it was where my work ended up being more important because it became a family situation that we carried on, and that, my dad and Christy's mom, my dad and Christy's mom had never been to Europe in her life. And then at the age of 70, for the first time, went to Europe, and we got to do it a bunch of times. So that was probably the happiest time. And I'm sorry, Rosie, what was your other question?
How do, because this will be an advice, what is it that makes you, like a trick that makes you wake up and move on in spite of everything that can be, going on in our lives?
It's just it's just knowing that tomorrow, what a kind of gift tomorrow can be. Anything exciting that is still out there if you're, healthy, and you get your health together. And the world is really an oyster, and when you're at your worst, everybody's worst is different. It could be money, it could be sickness, it could be whatever. But if you don't have a lot of money, that could change tomorrow. If your career isn't where it wants to be, that can change tomorrow. And it's only getting up in the morning and trying and putting yourself out there that the world is open to everybody, and not everybody has the same opportunities maybe, but some people work harder than other people's and can create that opportunity. So I really believe the more and more even now that more opportunity is being presented to people. And there's an easy way to, there was an easy way for me to look at, I have stage 4 cancer. Why am I thinking about making the eyes when I don't even know if I'm going to live? But every day it was like, let me do what I have to do so I can get to making the eyes and making that movie and coming back to my cast and my crew. So it's just knowing that if your life is going not in the direction you want, you can turn that around today and you can turn that around tomorrow. So that's what makes that
Thank
me.
you. That is so great. And I just want to, before we leave, to remind, we have been talking with Robbie Bryan. He's a great filmmaker who has fought cancer, and your cancer was in stage 4. Now it's your 6th year out of cancer. And you are here, by the way, because I read that, as I told you, but your career is impressive. And thank you again to share your art. And I said anyone can do it, and you said it at the beginning when people can go and go to the beginning when you said, if Pat did it, I can do it. And for me, that's something really great when it's not envy or competition. And I know obviously that it wasn't like that, and with me it's like that. If Oprah can do it, I can do it. It's things like that, right? That she's doing good, or Mother Teresa, she's doing good, even if it's this. So if someone else can do your dream, you can also do it. And you just have to know that you're unique. Robbie is unique. Rosie is unique. Each of us are unique. So our talents are unique, and we should focus on that. Robbie, you have proved that you have made it, and because of that, you will keep making everything that you want to do. So thank you so much. And as a goodbye, what will be your goodbye to our audience?
My goodbye is you should always follow your dreams, but equally as important, just it's very easy to be, it's much easier to be kind to somebody than to be mean to somebody. So whether that's just a positive word, whether that's a positive action, whether that's, you know, giving a little piece of what you have to somebody who has much less, just make this world a better place. And when you surround your world with that energy, it gets brought back to you tenfold. I promise you that. So follow your dreams, but also be good to people.
Thank you. It gave me chills because it is like that. Everything comes back. And what a better advice to just send good because you're going to have it back multiplied. Robbie Bryan, thank you so much. I send hugs and light to you and your family. And please keep giving, spreading your light around the world. Thank you.
Rossi, thank you so much for this time and allowing me to speak to you and talk to your audience. It's wonderful.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And thank you for listening to this great story. If you like it, you can subscribe and share it. This is Go Ahead Tell Me or Dale Cuéntame. We have new episodes every other Wednesday in Spanish and in English. And again, if you like it, subscribe and share it. My name is Rosie Gigure. Hasta la próxima.